How's it going, everyone? I've shot like thousands of photos with the X-H2s in the last week and a half or so. Events and portraits and some nature and just walking around, having fun, taking pictures. And I think I have enough to be able to give like a first impressions kind of video and tell you what I don't like and what I do like about this newer camera from Fuji. Some quick background real quick. I've been with Fuji since the X-T1. I had Canon originally. I shot with Canon forever, weddings and all that stuff, and I wanted something lighter. So I went with Fuji, and I've really never totally looked back. I've always been with Fuji ever since. I've had Fuji cameras for quite a while, and I love the feel of Fuji cameras. I love the images that come from Fuji. I just enjoy the Fujifilm stuff. And until recently, I've been okay with it pretty much all the way through. And the only thing that's changed recently is kind of like the Canon R5, R6, and the Sony cameras in general, and how easy they make autofocus, right? So I ended up getting a Sony A7 IV because I wanted to get action shots of my son doing his taekwondo, his karate, and all that stuff. And I also wanted to be able to put my camera on a tripod and be able to do some video in the field. And so, unfortunately, like lately, what I've been doing, I've been going on portrait shoots and stuff like that, and I've been grabbing the Sony a little bit more, not my Fuji's, because the Sony, for instance, just gets the focus every single time. It just locks on. Like if you tell it to lock on somebody's eyes, pretty much almost no matter what they're doing, it's going to get their eyes 97% of the time, and it's going to be beautiful, right? And with Fuji, I just had to work harder. So I had to, maybe I'm lazy, but it kind of opened my eyes to what the possibilities are for autofocus to make our lives as photographers a little bit better and to be able to focus a little bit more on composition and working with the client, right? Like working with the people and kind of knowing that you're going to get the focus every time. That makes a difference. And so that's kind of my history and one of the reasons I got the X-H2s. I'm going to tell you about a couple disappointments so far. The first big disappointment is that there is basically zero image quality improvements at all over the X-T3, X-T4, the X-Trans 4 sensor. In my tests, I'll show you here, right here, like I've got a picture of my son in different environments, different ISO settings. I shot him where he was in shadow, and then the background was quite a bit brighter. And basically, there are no improvements in the noise, and there are no improvements, it seems like, in the dynamic range. So if you look at these side by side, they're basically the exact same image quality. You know, I think Fuji never really, they didn't really try to say that the image quality was like a whole bunch better or anything like that. But when you see X-Trans 5, right, it's the 5th generation. I was kind of hoping for some high ISO improvements maybe, or a little bit more dynamic range. But hey, you know what? That was never my biggest issue with the Fuji stuff. I thought that the image quality was fine. And but it's still a disappointment. The other big disappointment for me, and maybe this probably just me, this just bugs the crap out of me because I have like the GFX system, and on the GFX system I can program where I want my what I want my buttons or my control dials to do, and so I cannot on this X-H2s. I can't make the front dial change my ISO. They just won't let us do it, and it's driving me crazy. I have to press the ISO button on the top and then select it like that, and it just drives me crazy. I want my GFX and my little baby GFXs, right? The little tiny Fujis. I want them side by side. I kind of want to go out in the field and be able to do the same thing. And I have my ISO on my GFX set to the front dial. Probably get used to it, but it annoys me the crap out of me. Some of the good to great stuff is, I mean, this thing's rock solid. The build quality, the grip is amazing. Using this feels a whole bunch different than using like the X-T4, like completely different system. Like it feels like a completely different planet. Like this is a Ferrari and the X-T4 is like a Honda Civic or something like that. And it just performs so fast. And the big thing for me, the absolute number one thing is that the autofocus seems to confirm the marketing hype that Fuji had, right? We actually have a camera that we could point it at something and it'll focus on their eyes, whether that's an animal. And a lot of my testing was with people, and it just absolutely rocked. So I did a little porch concert my buddy was doing recently at a community event just yesterday, and it just, even though he was wearing sunglasses, I got the right, the camera gave me the right focus, the right plane of focus pretty much every single time. I also shot some family portraits with this thing, and the kids were moving around, the animals. It locked focus 90-something% of the time. I haven't done enough portraits, or I haven't done enough so far. I want to do thousands before I really like totally can say for sure how good this is, but right now I'd say it's like 90% of what the Sony A7 IV can do. The A7 IV does still seem a little bit better. I mean, the A7 IV, it's kind of ungodly when people are moving around the scene. It just gets them. This one seems to do almost as well, but I have a few misses that I'm kind of curious about why it missed. Maybe it's just user error. That's what I mean. I mean, maybe I'm just not quite used to this, or I'm not moving around the camera. I'm not sure, but that's why I got to test it more. But so far, it seems like the autofocus is almost there. It's just almost there. But otherwise, the 40 frames, the 30 frames per second is pretty wild. I mean, it's crazy. You can get pictures that you just couldn't get before, right? A bird sitting there, you're just getting every single little tiny movement of its feet, and that's kind of crazy. And but otherwise, I think this camera is pretty awesome. I really enjoy using it. I think that I'm putting my Sony A7 IV and my 3 lenses I have for it on eBay today. I'm that confident that this thing is going to be able to do almost what I got the A7 IV to do, and that makes me super happy. I could be fully Fuji once again. So I am so far loving this camera, and I cannot wait to see what the X-H2 is going to do for me as well. So look for a final review like in a month or two. You know, I hate the idea of doing something this early. Like it's like I'm going to tell you how good this thing is for sure, like a final review. But until then, I have a lot of fun with this. It's good enough for me to be able to sell my Sony stuff. So that says a lot for me. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, if you want to know specifics about this or anything else, I'll answer you below, or maybe I'll make another video or add it into my final review, my big time review when we get there. Thanks for watching.